I, 32F. Never thought I'd be writing this, but here we are. My younger sister Emma, 28F, is engaged to my ex-husband Jake, 34M, and she just asked me to be her maid of honor. I'm sitting in my car outside of Starbucks right now because I literally cannot face going home and pretending this is normal. Let me back up. Jake and I were married for 6 years. We divorced 2 years ago after I discovered he'd been hiding a gambling addiction that cost us our house down payment. Plus, he'd been having what he called emotional affairs with women from his CrossFit gym. The divorce was messy, expensive, and emotionally devastating. I trusted this man with my entire future, and he threw it away for poker games and Instagram DMs. Throughout the whole nightmare divorce process, Emma was my rock. She brought me wine and tissues every night, listened to me sob about how betrayed I felt, and even helped me move into my tiny studio apartment. She kept saying things like, "You deserve so much better," and I never really liked him anyway. Something always felt off. She was the perfect supportive sister, or so I thought. 3 months ago, I started noticing Emma acting weird. She gets secretive phone calls and step outside to take them. She stopped coming to our weekly sister dinners, always having some excuse about work or feeling sick. When I'd text her funny memes or just to chat, her responses became super short and delayed. I figured maybe she was going through something with work or dating, but every time I asked, she'd brush it off. Then came Thanksgiving. I walked into my parents' kitchen to help with dinner prep, and there was Jake, just sitting at the counter like he belonged there, chatting with my dad about football. My blood pressure immediately spiked, but before I could say anything, Emma bounced in behind me and casually put her hand on his shoulder. "Surprise," she said with this massive grin. "Jake and I have been dating. We want to tell the family together." I swear the room went completely silent except for the sound of my mom dropping a casserole dish. My dad's face went through about 5 different expressions in 2 seconds, and I just stood there like an idiot, holding a bowl of cranberry sauce and trying to process what the hell was happening. "Dating?" I finally managed to croak out. "For how long?" "8 months," Emma said, still beaming like she'd just announced she won the lottery. "We ran into each other at that coffee shop on 5th Street. You know the one? And we just started talking about everything that happened. And Jake was so different, so changed. He's been going to therapy and GA meetings, and he's really worked on himself. We realized we had this amazing connection." 8 months. 8 months. That meant they started connecting barely 4 months after our divorce was finalized. For months later, I was still crying myself to sleep and could barely look at couples holding hands without having a panic attack. Jake had the audacity to look at me with these puppy dog eyes and say, "I hope you could be happy for us. I know this is complicated, but what Emma and I have is really special." I excused myself and locked myself in my childhood bedroom for 20 minutes, trying not to hyperventilate. When I came back out, my family was trying to act normal, but the tension was thick enough to cut with a knife. My mom kept shooting worried glances between Emma and me. My dad was slamming cabinet doors a little too hard, and Emma and Jake were sitting there holding hands like they were teenagers in love. The worst part? Emma kept trying to pull me into conversations about their relationship. "Remember how you always said Jake had potential if he just got his act together? Well, you were right. He's like a completely different person now." As if I should be proud that my ex-husband finally became the man I needed him to be. For my sister, that was 3 weeks ago. Since then, Emma has been texting me constantly trying to rebuild our relationship and insisting that love is love and you can't help who you fall for. She keeps saying she hopes I can find it in my heart to forgive them because family is everything. Yesterday, she called me sobbing with excitement. They're engaged. Jake proposed at the same restaurant where he and I had our first date 6 years ago. She wanted me to be the first to know because I'm the most important person in her life. Then came the question that made me see stars. Will you be my maid of honor? It would mean everything to me to have my big sister standing beside me on the most important day of my life. I told her I needed time to think about it and hung up. But honestly, I don't know what to think. Part of me wants to scream that this is completely insane and inappropriate. Part of me wonders if I'm being petty and should just be happy they found love. And part of me The really dark part. Want to say yes just so I can give a maid of honor speech that burns their whole world down. My friends are split. Half think Emma is a terrible sister who violated an unspoken code. The other half think that since Jake and I are divorced, he's fair game, and I should focus on moving forward instead of holding grudges. My parents are trying to stay neutral, but I can tell they're uncomfortable. My mom keeps saying things like love is complicated, while looking like she wants to crawl under a rock. My dad hasn't spoken to Jake since Thanksgiving, which says everything. The thing that really gets me is how Emma keeps acting like she's the victim in all this. She actually said to me, "I never expected to fall for Jake, but I can't help my feelings. It's not like I did this to hurt you." As if dating your sister's ex-husband is just some innocent coincidence that happened to her rather than a choice she made every day for 8 months. And Jake, he's trying to act like we're all going to be one big, happy family. He texted me last week asking if we could clear the air and be mature about this situation. The same man who couldn't be mature enough to not gamble away our savings apparently thinks he can lecture me about maturity. Here's what really bothers me. I don't even want Jake back. Our marriage was over long before the divorce papers were signed. He wasn't the right person for me, and I'm honestly better off without him. But there's something so deeply violating about watching your sister date someone who knows all your intimate secrets, who's seen you at your most vulnerable, who knows exactly how to push your buttons because he lived with you for 6 years. Emma knows things about my marriage that I never told her. Jake obviously shared details about our relationship, our fights, maybe even our sex life. The thought makes me physically sick. She's probably heard his version of why our marriage failed. And now she thinks she can succeed where I fail because she's not controlling or not emotional or whatever narrative he spun. The wedding is planned for next summer. Emma has already started sending me Pinterest boards of bridesmaid dresses and asking my opinion on flowers. She's acting like this is completely normal, like I should be excited to help plan her wedding to my ex-husband. I've been going to therapy to try to work through my feelings, and my therapist says I have every right to set boundaries. But Emma keeps pushing, saying that if I don't support their relationship, I'm choosing to break up our family over a man who wasn't even right for me. So here I am, asking the internet, am I crazy? Should I suck it up and be the supportive sister? Should I go to the wedding at all? And what do I say when people ask me how I feel about my sister marrying my ex-husband? Because right now, I feel like I'm living in some twisted alternate reality where my family thinks this is all perfectly fine and I'm the one with the problem.